Hello folks, this is Mike with Deer Park Home and Shop. In today's video, I would like to review and test the capabilities of this saw. Now this is the Dewalt DWS-779 12-inch sliding miter saw. I've had the saw about 5 months now and I've burned a lot of sawdust with it. It has many great assets, but it also has several real liabilities, possibly for many of my viewers. So in today's video, I want to answer these questions. Is the saw worth the money? And will this be a good saw for you in your situation? So please continue watching. Now honestly, I only paid $349 for this saw at Lowe's. When I bought the saw several months ago, they were having a nationwide promotion and a number of stores had this saw for $349. And you could buy the upgrade saw, the 780 model, for $499, $150 more. And you want to be careful when you look at these stores. When they sit side by side, they look just alike. So what's the difference? Like I said, this is the base model and it's the exact same saw as the upgrade. What the upgrade adds is two things basically. This saw comes with a 32 tooth blade. The 780 will upgrade you to a 60 tooth blade, of course, which makes a finer cut. It also has the DeWalt's LED cut line system. Now this sounds like a laser system, but it's not. A laser would project a red or green light on the board, or a red and green line rather. This saw will project a shadow the exact width of the blade. It will also be laser-like in quality. Of course, there will be no color to it, it's just a shadow. But it is very distinct on the board and it's very easy to see. And it's very exact. Now, I opted to buy the less expensive saw, first to save $150, and second because I'm a traditional woodworker. I wouldn't use the laser much anyway. I want to see the outside edge of my tooth touch that line on the wood. So I'm just traditional like that. So anyway, now I'm sure there's a lot of people just like me. So now that we've talked about the differences between these two saws, let's move on and go ahead with our review of this saw. So before we go any further, folks, I'd like to ask you to like our video and to be sure to subscribe below to our channel. So let's talk about the operation and the features of the saw. When you get your saw, it will be packed in a substantial box with a lot of styrofoam packing. It will be shipped in this position. So before you can use it, you need to unlock the slide and pull the locking pin. And up it comes. The saw itself comes all in one piece. But they also include a dust bag, your clamp, a blade wrench, an adjustment wrench, and you get these two wings. And the wings come separately. I've already installed them. They're easy to install. I put both on in less than 5 minutes. And before you lose your wrench, there's a nice socket on the back of the saw to store it in with a clip to hold it in place. It's a nice lever action clamp. This is better than the screw clamps. I like this better. Okay, that locks it. I push in the detent pin, pull up the locker. I can cruise freely across the adjustment plate. When I let go of the detent, there it goes, it locks into place. Now there's this setting here. I push this in, pull this up, and it automatically locks the detent out. A nice thing here is this detent plate. The detent plate is stainless steel and the numbers are embossed on it. It looks like they're just painted, but they're not. They're painted and embossed into the plate. These screws allow you to adjust the plate when you square your saw so you can put it back on zero, put your pointer on zero. On the left side of the saw, there's this steel lever that locks the saw into the standard chop saw mode. To transport the saw, pull down the head as far as it'll go and push in the steel lock pin. Now pull forward like so and tighten the slide lock at the back of the saw. That's all there is to it. When you're ready to change your blade, there's a steel locking pin on the side of the blade guard housing. You just turn the blade until it pops into place. Now this is a depth stop, so you can make dados, lap joints, or whatever. When I first saw these black parts, and some of the other black parts on the saw, I thought they were plastic, but they're not, they're steel. You can use the thumb screw to adjust the depth, and then lock it in with the wing nut. Now this lever will drop down and then stop the downward motion of the blade. Simply lift the lever to resume normal cutting activities. If you do a lot of repeating cuts, this allows you to keep your setting until the next time you need it. It's a really good feature. The saw bevels to both the right and the left and automatically stops at 45 degrees on either side. Now this steel lever right here is an override that allows you to bevel either side up to 50 degrees. Now these paws can be swung over like so, and they provide auto stops at 22.5 and I think it's 33 1/3. The saw will automatically be able to bevel to the left when you unloosen the handle. To bevel it to the right though, you have to pull out this pin on the back of the saw. When you move the saw back up to the vertical position, it will automatically stop at 90 degrees. So I wanted to try out the compound angle capacities of the saw, so I removed the clamp and the fence, and I set the bevel for 45 degrees and the table for 45 degrees. And I was able to smoothly operate the saw. And I did this on both sides. Now these are extreme angles. I can't imagine you really needing to use these kind of angles for crown molding or whatnot, but it's nice to know that it's possible. Dewalt claims a 14-inch cross-cut ability for the saw and 16 inches with the fences removed. I did a real-world test to determine if it's even possible. I ripped a board to 14 inches width and made a cross-cut. Notice the small nib left at the bottom. I tried another blade with the same result. I re-ripped the board and tried it again. I was able to cross-cut an honest 13 3/4 inches. It's only a 1/4 of an inch difference, but this was a bit disappointing. The cut, however, was dead square. The 16-inch cross-cut went better. You have to remove the sliding fences and prop your board up on 2x material, then butt it up against the tabs on the back of the fence. Now I was pleasantly surprised here. Not only did it cross-cut a 16-inch board, but the cut was pretty darn square. I wanted to test the cross-cut capacity, so I laminated enough material together to make basically a 4x6. It's actually 3 3/4 inches thick. I was able to cut a 1x10 at 45 degrees, and the actual depth there is 9 3/4 inches. Finally, I tried the 6 3/4 inch vertical cut against the fence. This took a bit of finesse. The guard caught on the top of the board in the miter lockdown mode. So I pulled up the lever and slid the slide out slightly until the board could be slipped under it. Then I could make the cut, and we did cut a 6 3/4 inch board as I specified. Overall, I would say that his cutting capacities are pretty impressive. Let's talk about the things I like about the saw. First, the slide action. It's very smooth. It's smoother than anything in its class. Second is the motor. It's 15 amp, 3800 RPM. It's a strong motor. I've been unable to bog this thing down with anything I've thrown at it in the last 5 months. Also, it's pretty much vibration free, and the blade runs straight and true. Now, it's quieter than most miter saws. Of course, that's by miter saw standards. These things are still loud, but that will help your neighbor some. In your shop or when you're close to the saw, you definitely still need to wear your hearing protection. The saw is sturdy. It seems well made. I think it's probably going to last for many, many years to come. And it makes nice, accurate, clean cuts. So after unpacking, I found the saw to be dead accurate out of the box. I put my square on it and made some test cuts, and it was right on the money. Now I also like the sturdiness and the functionality of the controls and the adjustments. The saw is easily adjustable for both bevel cuts and cross cuts. And the saw features a 3-year warranty. So now let's talk about some drawbacks to the saw. First, for left-handed people, this horizontal handle on the right side of the saw may not be a comfortable fit for you. Second, some people complain about it not having a soft start motor. Now, when you pull the handle down, line up your blade, and you turn the saw on, there's always a little kick up caused by the torque of the motor. Remember, this is a powerful motor. Some people find that objectionable. Now, one thing I particularly don't like about this saw, and also about every saw in this price range, is the clamp. It drops in a socket on the back, turns. There is a quick action feature. You can tighten it here, but once you've made contact with your wood, you still have to screw and screw and screw and screw and screw. This is a real productivity killer. Now I want to talk about what might be the deal breaker for a lot of folks, and that's the sheer size of the saw. If you're going to put this on a table in your shop, there may be some issues here. If you're working outside, it really doesn't matter. But there's a combination of two things here. First, the length from the back of this tube here at the front edge of the saw is almost 40 inches. When you put the bag on, you're close to 50 inches. Well, then, if you account for the travel of the saw, notice that bag? If you had a hose back there attached to that tube, think about how far that hose is going to have to travel. Now, there are some folks on YouTube that have come up with solutions for that, so you may want to search for those. But if you need to put this saw real close to a wall, this could be a real deal breaker for you. Now, Dewalt claims that with this system, they're able to collect 75% of the dust. And in my case, I know that's true. A tremendous amount of dust comes out of the back of that pipe. But then again, 25% is going up around here. But this is not uncommon for miter saws. Most miter saws are big dust creators, and you end up with a lot of dust up here in the front of the saw. So if you permanently mount your saw on a table like I've done, you'll need to allow for the travel clearance of the saw behind your fence. So in my case, I got by with 23 inches, but I've also built my own dust collection system to accommodate that. Now, if you're going to try to attach a hose to the back, allowing for the width of the hose and the crook, you probably need to allow maybe another inch or two. So I would go with a minimum of 24 inches behind the fence. My table is also 30 inches deep, which puts the saw right at the very front. If you add extra clearance, you're probably going to want to go 31, 32 inches. Now, at the beginning of this video, I posed two questions. Is the saw worth the money, and do you get enough bang for your buck? Now, in my case, the answer is a resounding yes. And in your case, there may be a big if. And that's if you can live with a large footprint and you've got enough real estate to set it up. If you were to ask me, Mike, after 5 months use, would you buy this saw again? Again, resoundingly, I would say yes. When I bought this saw, I was looking for something with large cutting capacities. I wanted a saw with rock solid dependability. I wanted a saw that would make square, accurate cuts over and over again. And I didn't want to pay for a laser cutting guide system that I wouldn't use. This Dewalt has delivered on all accounts. And I'm going to give it a thumbs up. Now, guys, we would appreciate it if you would like our video, and we would appreciate it also if you were subscribed, so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. So until next time, folks, thanks for watching.